Hello, I would like to talk to you a little bit about my experiences in Bangladesh as a dyspraxic. I think Bangladesh is a more dyspraxic friendly country than England, and to explain that I'm just going to talk about Japan a tiny bit. You might have seen my other videos where I mentioned that I've spent some time in Japan as well. So in England and Japan, this is my personal opinion, it's kind of like uptight. You have to do things in a certain way, and you have to like have all this kind of knowledge about how things should be done. So an example which really hurt me, I mean it was a mistake I made, but it really hurt me, the reactions I got when I was in Japan. I got taken out somewhere near the beginning by another lady, and then I said thank you, bye at the end. She'd come to pick me up in the car and taken me somewhere and then come back, said thank you, bye and everything. And then the next thing I heard, she was really offended and upset. And what would happen is the next time I saw her, I didn't say thank you again. And it's part of their culture that you have to say thank you when you see them again after the thing. You have to say thank you for that thing you did last time. They say it in that way in the language, so you have to say like thanks for last time before you start carrying on with your relationship. And I didn't do that, but I didn't know, and I do say thank you quite a lot, so I was absolutely kind of like appalled at myself for not knowing this, but how would I know that? And really, really upset because I'm so familiar with that feeling of getting something wrong in a social situation. Because of my dyspraxia, I do it all the time. It's been a lifelong issue, and I can be judged very harshly for it. And that happened in Japan in a different culture, even though I was in a different part of the world, like exactly the same problem, and it was really upsetting. So when I went to Bangladesh years later, the first few days especially, I had this very uptight feeling about me of like trying to do everything correctly. But they don't really do that. I mean, I'm sure they do have different kind of like do's and don'ts, but the way that you behave and the way that you sort of present yourself, the way how I experienced it was that it's a lot more laid back. You're just more welcome. You're more welcome to be yourself, and you're more welcome to just do what you need. And that, for someone like me who I didn't have any sense of self at that point. And even now I don't have that much feeling of what my own needs are, or having any needs myself, even though obviously I do because I'm a human being. If you're tired, they'll just be like, lie down. Like, even if you're visiting someone, they're just very like direct and honest about sort of like physical needs, I suppose you could say that, and nurturing. It's kind of like a nurturing sort of culture. So one of the things that used to happen during the first few days when I first visited Bangladesh, because I've been there quite a few times, was that I was trying to cover my head because it's largely a Muslim country, and I wanted to be respectful and sort of like show that I was being respectful. I suppose that's what I'm trying to say by covering my head. And they kept giving me clothes to wear, so that's really lovely. But the ulna they call it like ulna, I can't say it properly, but the headscarf thing that they use over there, it tends to be this really slippery material. It's not dyspraxic friendly though, by the way, even though I've just said it's dyspraxic friendly. Right, Bangladeshi culture is dyspraxic friendly, but these headscarves were not. So it was like a headscarf. It's like a scarf that you wear with your outfit, and then you can use it for like wrapping around you, or you could put it over your head, or you can like wipe your nose on it. You can just use it for whatever you need something material for. And it's really slippery, and then they use all these really annoying clips to get it in place, and I'm just useless with things like that. So I kept trying to put it back on, and it kept slipping off, and it was quite stressful because I was terrified that I was going to like offend somebody or just like seem like I didn't really care about being respectful. And everybody without fail, and I know I was only in one specific place with like family and neighbours and friends, but I met quite a lot of people. They were all like, it's fine. Every time I tried to pull it, they were like, it's fine, fool, it's fine. I mean, they're speaking in Bengali, but they were just like, don't worry, why are you so worried? Like, just don't put so much tension into it. Like, they use that phrase quite a lot, like, just don't worry, like, just don't worry, don't put tension into things, and just like, it's fine. Like, oh, after a few days, it quickly clicked into place for me of kind of like, the way that I lived in England and the way that I lived when I was in Japan, it's not the only way in the world, because over here they don't do that overthinking at all. Like, you said that in a certain way, does that mean you think that? Were you trying to tell me something? There's none of that at all, as far as I know. There's no like hidden layer behind it. Oh, such a relief. It was such a relief. So it's quite a relaxing place to, I mean, I could say it's a relaxing place. It's a very chaotic kind of place because there's so many people in a small country, but it's relaxing in a sense of like when you're in somebody's environment and home, my experience was that they'll make sure you have everything to feel comfortable, and it's not really a case of like social etiquette of like, you know, you're tired, go to bed for a bit, even if you don't know them that well, like, oh, you're uncomfortable, they'll pass you a cushion. I mean, that's quite basic, but I hadn't really experienced that in my life before. But in Bangladesh, it's just like all the time, kind of like checking if you need anything, and then physically like supporting you, and then they like feeding you. You know, this funny thing they do, you know, when they cook for you, then they watch you. It's so sweet, but it's really weird at the beginning because you think like, what's going on? Like, they will like cook for you, and then you'll be sitting there eating the food, and then they'll just stand there watching. But it's because in case you need anything, then they can just get you something, like, do you have some more, or like give you something, or just like check that you've got enough. And like, oh my gosh, they're so sort of like generous. It's amazing. Yeah, so I was talking about this. Oh yeah, dyspraxic point of view from Bangladesh. So yeah, dyspraxic friendly, yes. It's more laid back, it's more open, it's more direct. So like the way people talk and communicate, I experienced it to be a lot easier to get along. And it's more sort of like easy come, easy go. Because you bring what, again, all of this is my personal experience, so I don't want to give a rose-tinted view, but I have had a lot of positive times there. So these are some of the things that I liked about it the most. Like, you sort of bring what you bring, and someone else brings what they bring. It's not like everyone's expected to behave a certain way and like deliver in a certain way. So like an example is that I was with my husband for 8 years, he's Bangladeshi, and I didn't really cook, but he never said anything about it. Right, so I don't want to go into this now, but because it'll just take me off track, but cooking can be really challenging for dyspraxics, and it is for me. So I didn't really cook, but he knew how to cook. But he never told me until after we'd already broken up. He was actually really disappointed about that. But he never told me, and I'm guessing that's because he just appreciated the other things that I did. Because I do a lot in a relationship, I do give a lot. I'm like a very giving person, but I'm not good at cooking. That's the only reason I don't cook very much. I want to tell you about cooking, but I don't want to get sidetracked. So he didn't really say anything about that. He felt disappointed about that. Like, if he had to name something within our marriage that he wasn't happy about, that would be like, I wasn't stereotypical of like a housewife in cooking and then having the meal ready when he got home. But I never even knew, I never even felt that from him. And the reason I think that is, I believe, is because they know how to live together better than we do. So like in our culture in England, like I said, the word uptight, everyone seems to be expected to like meet a certain standard in lots of different areas. So if you think of like a uni house share, if you went to uni, then like people suddenly live together and you live with your friends. And then, especially with girls, they all fall out with each other. And it's all this sort of like nitpicking stuff. Like, such a body always leaves the fridge open, or such a body never replaces the toilet roll, or all these like little things that are going to happen because everybody does different things, don't they? Everybody has different strengths. But in England, I feel like we can't cope with that. Like, people find it so irritating, they can't even like stand it. And then do you remember if you went to uni, do you remember when someone used to write a note? So like one day you'd like, come down, luckily I don't think I ever received a note, but I was quite easy to get along with because I don't really cause any ripples, but like somebody would have upset somebody else and then they'd written them this note, and it was really terrifying, and it was like all this stress about how they never put the bin out or something, and things have to change. There was so much tension. Oh my goodness. I don't think Bangladeshi people would ever write each other a note. They're better at being assertive than we are, and I think they're just more accepting of like people's differences. Of like, people are going to be different, and people are going to sort of like offer different things. So I found them to be more appreciative of what you bring rather than criticising what you don't bring.